Afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. Today I got another Duxot watch for you, and I think you guys are going to like this one. A little spiel. You guys know I've been reviewing watches under the Dartmouth brand now for a while. Of course, the Invictas still pop up whenever I get my hands on one, whenever I buy one. Basically, it's the only way I get my hands on Invicta. A lot of the other brands that I'm getting the opportunity to share with you guys are under the Dartmouth branding, the Dartmouth company. And they have brands like Duxot, RGMT, Nubeo. And what I basically do is I kind of go through their sites. They're always adding new stuff. And I just go through and see what kind of speaks to me. And I feel like that's kind of how I think all of us should shop for watches, is to go through, and whenever you're in the market, really, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks, or, you know, I don't think you should wear a watch to impress anybody, or buy something because of what other people may think. Buy it because it kind of calls to you. And generally, you know, of course, if you're spending your own money on stuff, you're going to pick the one that speaks to you the loudest, right? That really calls to you. With me, it's a little different because I go through and I kind of pick. I wish I could tell you guys that I pick watches based on what you guys will like, but ultimately at the end of the day, I can't do that, because if I'm going to do a video review, I have to like it. Otherwise, I'm just lying to you and telling you, you know, I'm telling you what you want to hear, and that's not what I do. I pick watches that I can picture myself wearing. When I look at them on the website, I generally gravitate towards automatics, but again, I don't discriminate. I'll still wear the quartz, but you know, for instance, just to give you guys an example, I just picked up this Pagani design. You know, well, they call it, somebody calls it Tiffany blue. It's just kind of a baby blue. You know, I picked this up. I wanted another one in my collection. I have the orange version under the Tactical Frog. If this was a quartz, I probably wouldn't have bought it, right? So again, that's kind of a big checkbox for me. I'll take it a basic, inexpensive like seagull movement over a quartz. Is a quartz a more accurate, more reliable movement? Yeah, I mean it is, but there's just something about the automatics I like. So the cool thing about a lot of the watches under the Dartmouth branding, especially Duxot in this case, is that they have a lot of automatics. Of the watches under Dartmouth, I really like Duxot. And it's interesting because Duxot, this company is basically one that makes, from what I can tell, most are homage watches, you know, or copies of other or more expensive counterparts. But I love them. The quality is fantastic, you know, and you're getting a different name than Invicta. It's adding something different to the collection. I love this brand. The only thing negative to say about this brand is some of the ones I request they don't have, like the Black Caviar edition with the black stones. Love it. But who knows what will happen down the road. They do have some very unique pieces I tried to get my hands on with like coins, like the face is actually a coin. Very cool. And I think that's what, for me, gets me excited about getting a new watch, is what's different, you know. So this one here, when I was going through, I saw this one, and this is what we'll call the Panda color variation. So whatever brand you go with, whether it be Rolex or, you know, Omega or Patek, you know, any of those brands, a lot of folks like to give kind of nicknames to the color combination. We have the Kermits, we have the Pepsis, you know, we have the Cokes, we have the Batmans. This one's referred to as the Panda. And obviously we have black and white. Definitely not a watch, honestly, that back in the day I would even have looked at, you know. But I'll tell you, I really like the two-tone on this, the black and white. We can also call it Stormtrooper. Very, very cool. I'm definitely digging this one. So this one's called the Tourbillon, or not Tourbillon, the Tiburon, like the car, but not the car. And of course, this one dial color is white. They do have a couple variations on this watch here. If you don't like the Panda, I can't imagine why you wouldn't. But if you are looking for, you know, adding something to your collection, you're like, hey, I don't have a lot of watches. I just want I would say conservative. I just want the black, right? They have it in the blue, they have it in the black. The blue is more of like a navy blue as opposed to the blue you see in a lot of watches, which is more of like that bright royal blue. Black's beautiful, but this one I think is really the best one. It's just a great look with that black and white. Very cool looking. And what I like about this too is that the case is different than your standard Submariner homage watches. Now this I'm sure this is probably replicating maybe a Seiko or maybe a different Rolex. I'm not really sure which one this is, what the more expensive counterpart is. It very well may be its own thing, but you know how it is when we look at a basic design watch like this. There's so many different watches that are all very similar. Who's to say one's a homage and one's not? You know what I mean? So let's talk about what they say about this watch. And I'm going to throw some pictures up here, keep you guys engaged. And of course, we are going to throw it on not really me. I'm going to throw it on the wrist, show you guys what it looks like on a guy my size, my height, my weight. Great looking watch, amazing build quality on these. So let's talk about it. All right, so what do we get? So it says here, bold, robustly built yet comfortable, which is subjective, but you know, for me, it's not a checkbox. They're all comfortable, but it says always wearable. The Tiburon is a watch of performance, flair, and character that underlies its naturally sound engineering with design, details, and intelligence for a watch that is timeless in looks and always function. So, yeah, I mean, that can be said for all the other Duxots as well. So what are you getting? Let's talk about the check boxes. Let's hit that up. So we have a Japanese automatic movement, 3 hands with date. Again, don't know if we have Seiko, don't know if we have Miyota. Let me just spin the rotor. I'm going to lean towards that this is going to be probably a Miyota. It is not that from what I can tell, it's not a Seiko. Generally, the Seiko's rotor isn't, I don't believe it's ball bearing. It might be, don't quote me on that. But the Seiko movements, if you ever look at the way that the rotor turns, it's clunky. It just kind of jostles around. Whereas the Miyotas that I've seen, they spin, and you can actually hear them spinning. So now some folks are really sensitive about ticking and traffic and all kinds of things. So just know, wearing this, you will hear it. Now I can't hear it at this moment, but if you were to move a certain way, let's see, I'll try to get it to spin. Yeah, you can hear it moving ever so slightly. Not loud, you kind of have to actually pay attention to hear it, but I'll find myself like moving a certain way and then stopping if I'm in like a really quiet room, and then as I stop, I'll just hear this little just kind of spinning down, winding down. So just got to keep that in mind. We have 3/16 stainless steel, awesome construction on this. It just feels like a really solid watch. Solid end links, solid center links, milled clasp. Again, it's a checkbox for a lot of folks. Dual push button deploying clasp, Duxot logo on there. Screw down case back, screw down crown. Beautiful bezel action on this. You know, but in all honesty, they're all pretty nice. I've never really had any watches where I'm like, ooh, that's not good. This is, you know, fantastic. No back play. Everything lines up as far as I can tell. And you have these nice kind of what I call furnace blue hour marker, or excuse me, hour hands, second hands, and minute hands. Very cool. As far as the loom on these, I don't think the loom on these is ever great, but yeah, I can't even see it, but I don't know what loom they use. Now it does have a sapphire crystal, and a lot of the Duxots do, and I think that's, you know, I don't think it's not a checkbox of mine, but it is for a lot of people. I think when somebody's buying a watch, they'll specifically look for that. So it does have that sapphire lens with anti-reflective coating, 20 ATMs of water resistance, 42 millimeter case diameter, 13 millimeters in case thickness. So great looking watch. This one kind of, to me personally, I kind of feel like it's more of like, has more of that kind of retro look, more of like that 70s kind of look. You know, like I said, I could be totally wrong on that, but I think this is a great looking watch. The Duxots are just fantastic. I've been, you know, working with Dartmouth, there's a couple brands, you know, I think they have 7 or 8 brands, right? And I like them all. Don't get me wrong. The Ballast, the Spinnakers are great, but Duxot is one that I find myself going to more to see if they have anything new. I really like Duxots. I just really appreciate the quality here. The only thing, again, this company needs to do is just put a little more information on their site, and then kind of iron out the pricing on this. The pricing on this is $670 for this one. Now, when you start comparing that with a lot of other brands, you know, $670 is, you know, is a lot of money for a watch. But the cool thing about this brand is that you do find them cheaper on sale on like Ashford, and I always put the link to those 2 sites where you can get it directly from the manufacturer on their site with a coupon code. All that's in the description. Of course, if they do pop up on Ashford, you can find them there. Again, I've noticed that these watches don't fluctuate as much in price as, you know, some of the Nubeos. Some of the Nubeo watches they'll have listed at $1,300, and it goes on sale for $199. So I think, though, you know, again, when it comes to prices on watches, you know, I don't ever want you guys to think that spending $670 on a watch is going to get you a watch that's that blows away like an Invicta Pro Diver or an Aragon or a Bulova Precisionist. It's just not the way it works. The prices are set by the manufacturer as starting points for retailers. And so with this watch, do I think $670 is a little high for this? You know, ultimately for me, I'm cheap when it comes to buying watches. I probably wouldn't spend $670 for this. Not because you're not getting quality that's warrants that, because lots of other brands out there that charge this price that the quality is comparable to this, right? If you look at the value on this compared to like a Rolex, I'd rather spend $670 on this than $5,000 on a Submariner. I just don't think the quality differences are really worth it for me personally. I'll never see why anybody would spend that other than to have that name on your wrist, that Rolex name. But I think this is a fantastic watch. I love it. This one gets worn quite a bit, and I think you guys will definitely appreciate this watch. Again, you have that vintage look without actually being a homage to the Submariner. So without further ado, let's throw on the wrist. So I'm about 5'8". I weigh about 182 pounds, and I have a 7-inch wrist. So this is what it's going to look like in a guy my size, my height, and my weight. Gorgeous watch. I mean, I think that if they were to get this price point locked in, and I think you'll see it eventually. I think really a really competitive price to this, where you start comparing this to brands like Orient and brands like Seiko and brands like that. Look at a lot of Seikos. You're looking at well over $600 for a lot of Seikos, and you're not getting anything superior to a Tactical Frog, a Pro Diver. You're really not. Nothing that I can personally see. Again, those check boxes are really clear. Now, if you want to take the watch apart, look at how they've attached the movement. You might find differences, you might not. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what do you see? What do you feel? And anybody who really looks at these watches and says, "Oh man, this is a $1,000 Captain Willard," and they start to look at give me a break. There's no difference in quality. There just isn't. The quality differences are so microscopic. I'll never understand why somebody spends that much money, But again, always buy what you like, buy what makes you happy. Some folks may say, "Oh man, I wouldn't spend $670 on this." Other folks can be like, "Man, it's a good looking watch. I like that." You have to kind of compare it to what else is comparable out there and make the best educated guess for you, the one who's going to wear it. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, I want to thank Dartmouth and Duxot for their generosity and sending me these awesome watches. This is definitely one of my favorites. And what's interesting is when I chose this one, I said, let me get that model. I'll get the Panda. I don't have a white-faced watch. And I just figured, I'll just do the review and, share it. Maybe somebody will like it. Remember, when I do a review a lot of times, this doesn't mean that I do a watch review and it's like, this is my favorite watch I have. I like them all. They all get worn. They all get used. And like I said, I wear watches based on my mood, and what I just sometimes if a watch is in my box, I haven't worn it for a while, I'm like, let me wear that today, give it some wrist time, so everybody's different, but I tell you, this watch when I got it, I figured it was just gonna be one of the ones that's part of the collection. I'll throw it on once in a while. I'm surprised at how much I do wear this one. Very cool looking watch. I guess it's that Panda face that really does it for me. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. If I can help in any way, drop me a comment, drop me an email, do subscribe to the channel, and have a fantastic day, guys. Take care.